there it goes. All right, let's go. Take 2.
Action.
Right.
Action.
Takes Pranav 9 hours, and they use the word 9 hours to mop the warehouse, right? And Alberto came out with the same warehouse in 8 hours, right? So Carlos and Chad,
What?
how long can they? It's not a video. Can they mop the warehouse together? How would we figure this out?
14 hours.
14. Oh, well, I mean, why would you say 14 hours? Why would it take them longer? It's kind of weird.
Because they don't get along.
Shouldn't it take them less time? Right? Would they do it together? Right? So how would we figure it out?
You divide them.
Yes. We find the average of the 2 of them together, right? So we say, hey, if we add the 9 plus the 8 and divide it by 2, that should equal the togetherness. The togetherness. Right? Alright, so what is 9 plus 8?
17.
17? Okay? So that'd be 17. So how do we set this up? Well, how did we allow ourselves to set it up?
Given.
Given? Not really. We had to produce it, right? So we're kind of using it's kind of like 2 segments, the sum of 2 segments, but it's actually the average, right? So the definition of the average, okay? Because to find the average time for both of them, like if there was 3 of them, we would add all 3 and divide by 3, right? If there are 5 people, we'd add all 5 and divide by 5, right? In this case, there's 2 people, so we're going to add the 2, and you said 17, and we're going to divide by 2. And so what is 17 divided by 2?
18. 8. Oh, wait, no, 8. It was 8.
8? 8 what?
5.
Yes, 8 1/2. So basically, you know, so is that right? Nah, that can't be right. It shouldn't take them longer, right? It shouldn't take them longer. Yeah, so each one, right? Think about this. If I found the average of them together, right? But what I want to do is, wouldn't one of them do half of it, and the other one would do half? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So each of them would do half, right? So instead of this, right? We would be more like this. 9, right? Divided by 2, right? Plus 8 divided by 2. And then those 2 averaged out again, right? Meaning 1/2 of that. Right?
Because 9 and 9 over 2 make 1/2.
No. We're taking half. What we're doing is we're taking these 2 numbers, because wouldn't one of them do half the area? Right? And the other one would do the other half. Right? So to do half of it would be half of the 9, right? So in other words, you know, 4 1/2, right? Okay? And the other one, it would just take 4 hours to do, right? Okay? So, if they're doing it together, would that also be averaged out since they're doing it together? So what is half of 4 1/2 plus 4?
2, 1, 4.
Right? So it'd be 8 1/2, right? 8 1/2. And 1/2 of that. So what's half of 8?
4.
4.
And what's half of a half?
1/4.
1/4? So shouldn't it take them 4 1/4 hours if they're doing it together? Right?
Yeah, something like that.
Now, what does the answer say though? What are we looking for? Aha! Who is the... Ah! No! Sandal off! Sandal on! No, wax in, wax off. Okay? So they came up with 4.24. I come up with 4 1/4. I think mine's more appropriate. Because what we're doing here is we're saying, hey, one of them is going to be half of the time, right? So half the area. But then they're actually using both of their times together divided by, so we're finding the average of their times together. Does that make sense? So first thing we had to do is cut the times in half. The second thing we had to do was say, what is the average of those two halves, right? Then we would know if they all go in there together, how long before they come out. Does that make sense? Okay? All right, now, if we did this a different way, could you think of another way of doing this? Right? I mean, there's a lot of ways to doing this problem. We could say that the hours times X plus the hours times X, right? If X were what? If X were the time that it took, right? For them to do it, right? But then we'd also have to come up with, okay, then that's 9X plus 17X divided by 2, right? Because we're cutting that time in half. But then we're cutting it in half again, right? So if it's 9x over 2 plus 8x over 2, right, is equal to 1/2 the time, right? Or actually is equal to 2 times the amount of the time, because that would be twice the amount of time, right? Now when you actually did this problem, you would go, okay, multiply this side by 2, and I get 9x plus 8x equals, and 2, so I get 4, right? So 17x would equal to 4. And then, but you'd have to take